What you think about when you're born into a fire? Let them burn it out. Sell them to the richest buyer. They wanna let the world decay. They tell us lies and fade away, fade away. We feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race. Wake at the back of the pack, kill it anyway. Listen up now, because we're never dropping out. Beat the odds, beat the big house. The brains are bigger than the doubt. We've been thinking for ourselves, never let the truth fade away. This is bigger than ourselves, we won't let the world burn away, burn away. We feel betrayed. We were raised to lose the race.
What's up? I'm here. Welcome.
Hey Daddies, it's me, the Linda Binda from TikTok. I wanted to make this video because I wanted to thank you for watching Cold Beer Confessionals with Will Bird. I think that's just incredible. I've watched a few episodes and I'm just like very intrigued. But you know what I'm most intrigued in is Big Daddy's meat stick. I heard that it's very thick, like a good old German sausage. You know, Linda and her coochie loves that. Oh, never mind. Let's not go there. Anyways, I hope you have a good show and enjoy it as you can. There's a lot of weird things that go on, especially when it comes from the realm of Linda Bindaland. So, enjoy the show. Thanks for watching.
The log cow cabinet. Oh, no. Welcome, everybody. I'm Will Bird. This is Cold Beer Confessional. Thank you for joining us. What's up? We got some major updates going on right now. A lot of them surrounding one Mr. Scott Rogers. Let's start here. He was told by his source that Gold Zeo Ranger was talking bad about him, okay? He was told by his source that Gold Zeo Ranger, longtime fan of the show, Gold Zeo Ranger, was talking bad about him.
What did you call me?
Does he even remember what I called him?
So he says, what did you call me? And he says, does anyone remember what I called him? I guess Gold Zeo doesn't remember.
I don't think he called him anything.
Somebody says, I don't think he called him anything. Okay, maybe he didn't call him anything.
Right.
I got it from a source, what you called me.
So Scott says, I got it from a source, what you called me.
Okay. So what why don't you tell me what you thought I called you then?
A semen demon.
What? What? A semen demon? What do you think I called you? A semen demon!
Why don't you tell me what you thought I called you then?
A semen demon.
That's wild to me. I don't know who his source is, but I think they may be messing with him a little bit. And then this has been a hotly debated topic. Is Scott Wajos 5'4" or 5'5"? It looks like we finally settled that debate once and for all. The nurse has to tell him twice not to stand on his tiptoes. So first of all, he's at the emergency room because he has an emergency. But while the nurse is taking height and weight measurements, he's like, can I record this? There's twos on the internet that don't think that I'm 5'5". And the nurse has to tell him twice to not be on his tippy toes. No, now don't do that. I'm just adjusting myself.
You ready?
Ready?
1, 2, 3. Don't be.
No, I'm just getting straight.
Okay, I was.
Don't do. I'm just getting straight. I gotta get straightened up.
Don't stand. All right, 1, 2, 3, 5.
To be fair, that lump on his head swells up bigger some days than others, so I don't know if this is even an accurate measurement.
See, guys? All right.
See, guys?
5'5".
Now, before we move on any further, why do you think that Scott Wajos is at the emergency room? You can guess in the chat. Why do we think Scott Rogers is in the emergency room? Broken bone, hardcore asthma attack, triple COVID. Why would Scott Rogers be in the emergency room?
Old jail. Plus, I'm at the hospital, too.
Let me see it.
I'm just
Are you
still...
gonna do some other stuff too?
Yeah. I'm
So she's asking, let me see it. But he's like, I'm still recording.
here for a spot on my chest right here.
Scott Wajos has an ingrown hair. It's literally even got a head on it. Why wouldn't he just fucking pop it, dude? This is why he's at the emergency room. I got a spot on my chest, White Hill. The nurse is like, let me see it. He's like, I'm out quitting.
Here. See a hospital.
Who the
too.
fuck shows this stuff on the internet, dude?
Let me see it.
I'm just
Are you gonna do some other stuff too?
Yeah, I'm here for a spot on my chest right here. See ya.
See ya. Scott's basically dying of a zit on his chest. I wonder if it's in this video. This is a newer video. We should be able to see his chest.
What's going
Oh, it's still there. I saw it already. Hold on. See it there? It's right behind the play bar. He's got a fucking ingrown hair, dude. He always... You can't say staph. You can't say staph because he always has an underlying staph infection. It's right there. I think staph got Scott.
What's going on, everyone?
So clearly they didn't rush him to surgery to remove it.
It's morphin' time. Triceratops, muscle mode. Blue Angel, ready.
God, look how dirty. This is a brand new apartment from when his other one set on fire, and look at the grime. He soiled it. Look at the grime above the light switch already. Damn, dude. You are fucking nasty as shit.
Me and Kilo all married. Yeah, more phenomenal. Yeah.
He's claiming a lady on the internet who's already married and has kids, who he's never met before in real life, are now married, according to the Morphin Grid.
If anybody messes with my wife, Triceratops will be on them. More phenomenal.
I would love to see a 1-for-1, 2-scale, full resolution X-ray of this guy's skeleton, dude.
What's going on, everyone?
He makes Kilo suck on that nubbin.
You ready?
Ready?
1, 2, 3. Don't be.
No, I'm just getting straight.
Okay, I would say don't stand. All right, 1, 2, 3, 5.
I wonder who's my celebrity look-alike.
Who is Scott Rogers' celebrity look-alike? George fucking Clooney. Looks just like him.
George Clooney.
Looks just like him.
Oh, George Clooney. Oh. He's a good actor. He played in Batman.
All right, I gotta look up something
in a
right
lot of
quick.
different movies.
Give me just a second.
Peace out, guys. I wonder who's my celebrity look-alike.
George Clooney. I could have called that before the filter even
George
existed.
Clooney.
What's the name of the account?
Clooney. Oh. He's a good actor. He played in Batman. Playing a lot of different.
Acoustic Screech is the account. Acoustic Screech. Users. Is it acoustic dot screech? Hold on. Yes. You guys remember Tank Lip We missed some of this. This is one of his pinned videos, but it's back from September of last year.
Don't threaten me. You got the wrong one, bro.
No, you got the wrong one.
Pull up. Pull up, bro. Pull up.
Listen here, bub.
Pull up, bro. Pull up,
Listen here, bub.
bro. I could get in front of the camera too, bro. Pull up. Pull up, bro.
I've been nice to you. I had something good to
Bro,
say to you.
do not
Nah, shut
scare
the
me,
fuck
bro.
up.
You do not
I'll
scare
be
me, bro.
Oh, Corey will. Corey will scare you.
I'm not scared of Corey.
Well, you.
Coey's a full-fledged adult with a fully functioning brain. He'll scale you. He'll scale you. Coy will. Coy will scale you. Coy's my friend, not your friend.
I'm not allowed to go into any of your lives. If I see you,
Yeah?
if I see
Keep
you,
threatening me. Keep threatening me.
you'll be blocked from
Keep
his
threatening
live.
me.
I'm his
Keep
super
threatening me.
mod.
Pull up.
I'm not. It's not.
It's always these retards claiming that they're the super mods.
Threat. It's a promise. I will
Pull
block
up.
you from his
Pull
account.
up, bitch.
No, that's what you are.
You get out of my box, bro.
Fuck you,
Ooh.
bitch.
Don't threaten me. You
There was another one. Is that one on it? That was the Gold Zeo Ranger one. I watched that one. Oh, here's the one I wanted to show you. This is the time that Tank played Ding Dong Ditch on his 84-year-old mother, and she chased him around the block.
Gonna get some exercise.
Because people were donating to him. People were donating to him to fuck with his mom.
Mom, Chinese food's here. I'm out of here. Send the whale, send the galaxy. She's after me. Holy shit. I'm done. You better send it. Thank you for the whale. Holy
Look.
shit.
She's chasing him down the block. You see Estelle back there? These are real people in real life. They voted too. She's a New York Times best-selling author, by the way.
Send more gifts. Send more. Holy shit. I'm dead. I'm done. I knew this was a bad idea.
That was part one. Part two picks up here. Although blessed with genetic advantages and the makings of a varsity athlete, Tankles betray him, and 80-year-old Estelle catches up. Do it for the content, guys.
Why?
Get over here.
You're gonna make a mistake if you come near me.
You get over here. I can't walk like this.
Mom, just leave me alone. Just leave me alone. Mom, this is insane is why I'm walking away. I don't trust your behavior, okay? Please. Someone is going to if you make a mistake. People are watching you. I'm not going to play this game with you. I'm going back to the house. You've got to stop. Why would you chase down the block?
Who told you to do this?
Please stop.
Who told you to do
See, this is what's going to happen.
Who told you? Who told you?
Get over here.
These people are wild. Tank and Moody become best friends. Moody's another one.
I did give you a left-handed compliment, and I said you're smart. I just also said you're stupid.
Exactly, so get the hell out of here then.
Really?
Well, I ain't
Bitch.
listening to this shit.
Fuck you, bitch.
I don't want to hear this stupid shit, dude.
Nah, dude, I was trying to be your friend.
Bullshit. He ain't trying to be my friend. That ain't being my friend. That's bullshit. He's calling me stupid? I
I did give you a
I don't know.
Very sad.
Hurt myself.
Tank has a breakdown after his gift. So what happened was Tank's main gifter got mad at him and stopped gifting him and went to another account and gifted somebody else a Galaxy. And Tank cried about it for a while.
Very sad.
Hurt myself.
And then a fake Scott Rogers account comes in and tells him to stop crying about it.
I focus.
Okay? I'm not here for a pity party. If I cry, I cry.
Stay away. But I remember.
Myself to everyone. Fed myself, I'm just either blocking people or
Music's perfect. What a selection.
1 minute things are okay, then the next minute I gotta defend myself.
Literally crying because a person he's never met on the internet gave money to someone else.
You calling me a crybaby, Scott? Fuck you.
Call me a crybaby, Scott Waddles? Fuck you. It's so hard. It's hard out here.
Blocked. Very sorry.
Blocked. Scott. Scott got blocked. It's all over with. What is this one? Lip versus Rogers. On the main card.
God, I'm gonna be taking Christina to downtown Orlando.
No, you're not. No, you're not. No, you're not. No, you're not. No, you're not.
Watch.
Can we be calm? Thank you.
No, you're not, Tank.
Watch me, dude.
No, you're not, dude.
Let's have a little relaxing.
Somebody mentioned him eating earlier. That's one of the pictures of him eating ranch.
Go find another woman. Leave Christina and Kilo alone.
Bro, I'm gonna buy her some drinks and I'm gonna
You know
go
what?
dance.
No, the fuck you ain't. No, the fuck you ain't. You live with your mama.
I'm very sorry.
You live with your mama and stay with your mama. Let them be homeless, bitch. You're not.
Watch how you talk to my woman, bro.
That's not your woman. That's Christina and Kilo is my woman.
Sometimes it's almost like Tank's like in on it and he knows he's trolling Scott, and then other times he's just fucking oblivious. I don't think he does.
Women. No. You leave.
That's my women.
Where your mama living ass.
Baby, I love you too, Christina.
No.
By the way, Scott lives with his dad, has never lived alone a single day in his life, but he's like, you live with your mom.
No, don't call her baby.
What did you call me?
Ooh. Don't call her baby.
Stop. I'm gonna have you leave. Where your mama living ass.
Baby, I love you too, Christina.
No, don't call her baby, Tank. No.
I love you, baby.
No, cause Tank, stop. I'm gonna have people. I know people that that works at for TikTok, and I can have them shut your account down.
So Scott knows people who work at TikTok will have him shut your account down.
Threaten me, Scott.
That's kind of rude, though.
Don't threaten me, Scott.
It's not a threat. It's a promise.
Don't threaten me, Scott.
Calm down, Scott, baby.
It's not a threat, it's a promise.
Leave her. Don't leave. You're just
You know what,
a
Scott?
friend.
You know what, Scott? You know what, Scott? You're pissing me the fuck off. I've lost 8 accounts already. You shut your fucking mouth.
Nope.
Not.
Oh shit!
Nah, you deserve to be on TikTok.
What?
I win.
Wait, what did you just do? God, you can't kick him.
Kicked him out. That's how he wins.
I'm not a modern here.
Scott, I'm gonna.
Christina doesn't have a say in this. The semen demon.
I ain't even gonna lie to you, man. Since this shit has happened, man, I haven't been able to work. I haven't gotten a paycheck in
Oh, this is the guy who gets the Galaxy.
a month and a half, man. So, hey, I really appreciate anything I get, man.
Or Universe or whatever it is.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
That makes it better. See that is somebody that actually generally.
Oh shit! Look at that. Damn.
And that's why Tank rage quit and starts crying. Scott Rogers serenaded Kilo to win her back from Tank.
Gonna get some exercise.
All right. That's all that. Lot going on today. A lot of stuff happening. Confirmation hearings. Updates regarding the MAGA bomber with 150 plus bombs stored out back. Let's see what that is.
Hey everyone, welcome to the show. I have an update to share about that man who was found to have more than 150 homemade bombs and
whatever it is. The largest one is worth like $100.
Other explosives as well, and devices and ingredients on his property. If you didn't catch the original story, this is about a 36-year-old Virginia resident named Brad Spafford. There was a neighbor who's a former law enforcement officer who reported Spafford because he made some very concerning comments. He said that he wanted Kamala Harris to be assassinated, which we all make jokes. I mean, that could have been a joke, but Spafford said that he and his friends were planning some sort of event or something that was too big for him to pull off himself. Spafford also allegedly told the neighbor he wanted to erect a turret on his 20-acre property, and then he wanted to put a 50 caliber gun on top of that turret. And the authorities found that Spafford blew off 3 of his fingers in 2021 while he was making some of these explosives. So blew off his fingers and continued to do so, continued to make these bombs. And his wife was like, oh, I never noticed anything. I didn't know he had explosives. Like, yeah, okay, lady. You didn't notice he was missing 3 fingers? I mean, who drove him to the hospital? How did he heal? Like, where was he when he was healing from losing 3 fingers? Like... kind of something you notice at the dinner table at night. But anyway, he allegedly also used a photo of President Joe Biden for target practice. So the FBI raided Spafford's...
I don't think this target practice is a big a thing as people are saying. Like, when you go to any gun store, they'll have Trump and Obama and Biden and shit like targets that you can pin up. Every range I've ever been to has fucking presidential targets and then Osama bin Laden targets and just random fucking people.
Property. They discovered that he had more than 150 unsecured explosives in his home, and then on the property he had like a detached workshop or something where a lot of them were found, but they even found some of them in bedrooms in the house where he has 2 young children, and they had full access to these bombs. Like, some of them were in a completely unsecured area in a backpack. So then they found a jar of liquid. This was labeled dangerous, do not touch. And the FBI determined the liquid is a highly sensitive substance called HMTD. That is so unstable, they said, it can explode just by changing its temperature. And according to the investigators,
yeah, so this is usually kept like cryogenically, like frozen, basically. He had it in his family freezer.
Had that liquid stored in a freezer right next to the quote unquote hot pockets. And this was also an accessible freezer for his children. So
it's hexamethylene, triperoxide. I don't know what the D's for. Diamine?
Spafford went before a new judge to determine if he can remain out on pretrial release, because you might recall when I first brought up the story, the magistrate judge allowed him out. The magistrate judge said he could be released into the custody of his mother and just held on house arrest. And they said, until the government files new charges, or if they file new charges.
When the whole Obama is a Muslim was a big thing, they used to have him, but with a turban on. You could order them. Even online, you'd see them advertised all over the place.
And we can revisit it, because as of now, they have only charged him for possession of an unregistered short barrel.
It's yes. So HMTD is really, really bad. So like shock, friction, obviously heat. When it's kept like super cold, like in a freezer, it's a lot less reactive, right? It would take a lot more static or shock or friction. But when it's at room temperature, man, it's fucking deadly. But imagine one of his kids like accidentally getting it out of the freezer when they're getting some ice cream and just left it sitting there.
Rifle. And Spafford's attorneys have argued there is no evidence to prove that he was planning for violence or that he had threatened anyone. Well, this new judge ruled that Spafford would need to remain behind bars until his trial. So he will remain in jail until his trial. This was U.S. District Judge Arenda Wright Allen, and she wrote in her opinion that Spafford posed an, quote, extreme risk to his own family and the community. And she said, quote, Mr. Spafford has specifically stated he does not believe in government regulation when it comes to fire.
Yeah, I'm sure we can. Hold on. Joe Biden shooting target. Yeah, there's a bunch of them. Some that are super racist.
Firearms, and he intentionally flouted the requirements for registration of short barrel rifles. The court is not confident that Mr. Spafford would be any more respectful of the imposed conditions of release. So, in other words, you haven't been proven to be an honest actor or to be trustworthy, to follow the laws, to follow the rules, so don't really trust you out there in the world. And then the judge also noted that similar defendants have always been held pending trial, and none of them come anywhere close to what they found on Spafford's property in regard to the amount of explosives that he was stockpiling. Judge Allen wrote, quote, the court has not found a comparable case in terms of scale, but even cases involving smaller numbers of destructive devices and other factors that were positive for the defendant have resulted in detention. So again, in other words, you know, people who didn't even have 150 plus bombs and had other mitigating factors in their favor, we still lock them up. So this guy needs to go away. He needs to be locked up until we figure this all out, until, you know, you go to trial. And
he was a danger to society when he was out. Why wouldn't he be a danger to society now?
We let a jury decide or what have you. So I imagine this is a tough one for the judges, though. I mean, based on the evidence revealed so far, at least what they've released to the public, it is true, at least from what we've seen, that he hasn't specifically threatened anyone. However, as I mentioned in the first video, his neighbor wore a wire, and they did allegedly catch him talking about some plan with his friends. Of course, you know, without additional evidence, his defense attorneys are going to argue that, oh, it's all fantasy, it's bluster, you know, he's just talking. But then again, you know, if the judge allows him out and Spafford injures someone while he's out on bond, even if it's accidental, even if it's his own family, you know, God forbid, one of those kids sets off one of these bombs. And as I mentioned before, the feds, when they went in there, they said they had to detonate some of these explosives because they were so
they really are banned.
They were afraid to transport them, that they might explode during transportation.
They call their followers the Spaff nerds, like Spaff nerds, and they're the Spaffords. That's pretty funny. Electro pop, reggae, ska, rock, funk, jazz.
So this is what he had his children around, allegedly. So, you know, if the judge releases him and something goes awry, I mean, that decision will come back to haunt them. And, you know, with that many explosives, he poses a risk not just to his family, but to his neighbors. I mean, can you imagine the lawsuits if the neighbors are injured, if their homes get blown up? So anyway, I'll let you know when I hear more on this and as the case progresses. Thank you all so much for watching and listening. Please like, please share, and subscribe to the channel if you have not. Please donate if you can. Love you all. Take care. Talk with you soon.
There you go. More updates about him. Hold on just a second. I want to see what this is.
Hello. This video is a message to Dream. If you've been off the internet the past couple of days and haven't kept up, basically, if you're one of my subscribers, Dream has called you a slur. So deal with that how you want. Okay, now look, I have Dream blocked on everything and I intend to keep it that way. So Dream, hello mates, let's just dive right in, shall we? Let's talk about you calling all my fans the R-slur. You can't throw around the R-slur, mate. You just can't. My mum worked with adults with disabilities, and since I was 12, I volunteered with her. These are real, fucking amazing people who I think of like family.
That's a weird take on it. And then this one, what the fuck is this one?
Hi, how
I know you can't see them. I'm just listening to them.
Have you been here before?
Yeah.
Sir, you need to leave. Unacceptable. Unacceptable. Call 911.
What is this? It says bro unalived himself after this video.
Hi, how are you? Good. Have you been here before?
Yeah.
Sir, you need to leave. Unacceptable. Unacceptable. Call 911.
And then the last one, there's this huge, I know you guys, I don't know, I'm going to read the comments on that one to see what the fuck that one is. I know you guys are not into World of Warcraft, okay? Not a lot of people are. But there's this huge, yeah, the R-slur, retard, that's, if you watch this guy, you're a retard, okay? Oh, this one's got comments. It says he smoked himself the next day. After that, he unalived himself. He unalived himself today. Brad just unalived himself. What is this? For what purpose? Is this just clickbait? He was on some freaky shit. Literally, there's no context. He drives up in a car, and the woman said, "Has you been here before?" He says, yeah. And she's like, "You need to leave." There's no context to this. I don't know. Was he at a whorehouse or something? Was he trying to pick up children? I don't understand. The place that he pulled up was one of those bikini barista stands. He had come multiple times before, harassing and exposing himself. That is why she was already recording. Did something happen? Is there any context to this post? That's what I'm asking. Guy in the video isn't wearing any pants. Did I miss this? Hold on.
Good. Have you been here before?
Yeah.
Sir, you need to leave.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I missed it. He doesn't have no fucking pants on. Good thing I didn't show you guys. Holy shit. I don't know if his dick's being shown, but he doesn't have any pants on.
Unacceptable. Unacceptable.
And then they're saying he unalived himself afterwards. It's like a drive-up barista thing, like bikini barista.
Hi, how are you? Good. Have you been here before?
And she looks like she's at a window, but I guess it's a door because she walks out to his car and says, "Have you been here before?" Yeah.
Sir, you need to leave.
Yeah, he don't have no fucking pants on. Okay, I guess I was just confused. Guy in the video isn't wearing any pants. Yeah, that's the only thing. Thanks for telling me. I had no idea. Then it says there's a post about him unaliving himself. In Arizona? Hold on. His name was Natica Malone, 27, committed unaliving after his semi-naked viral video surfaced from Arizona. Ex-Central High School swimmer Natica Malone, 27, committed unaliving after his semi-naked viral video surfaced. A day before Natica Malone's demise, he was seen without pants in this viral video. An anonymous member took the private Facebook group, Arizona Moms Helping Another Moms, to warn others about a man at a Bikini Bean. What's a Bikini Bean? Is that like a bikini coffee place? Bikini Beans Coffee, okay. In the video, Bikini Bean staff are seen approaching to warn others about a man that's been at the Bikini Bean in Tempe, Arizona. In the video, Bikini Bean staff are seen approaching a man in his car asking if they could assist him. Okay. His name was Natica Malone, and apparently it's true. He unalived himself. He was married and had a new baby. Crazy he decided to be horny piece of shit. As they get closer, they notice he is semi-naked without any pants on and engaged in inappropriate contact. Now, I couldn't tell if he was jerking it or not. So they blurt out, "Sir, you need to leave. Unacceptable." Then he drives away abruptly. He looks so hurt in his facial reaction, too. Like he was like he looked so hurt. People had also posted about the day before and were able to identify the person, 27-year-old Natica Malone, involved. After speaking with his wife, Tori Malone, they learned that the individual had taken his own life. Therefore, the member expressed mixed feelings, acknowledging that while his actions were wrong, the outcome was unexpected and challenging to process. They also hoped that no one had sent hurtful messages to him that could have contributed to his decision. The member had only spoken to his wife and provided this information to the owner of Bikini Beans to be handed over to the authorities. People were skeptical, wondering if the staff were recording random customers in the drive-thru and happened to capture... No, I don't think they were recording random customers. I think he's been there before and probably done the same fucking thing. And happened to catch this particular incident, feeling that there was a lack of context. In the video, the staff member mentions that man had driven through multiple times, so they thought of recording him this time. That's exactly what happened. And the person that comes out, you can see her in the reflection of the video. She is not in a bikini. She is wearing a big silver belt buckle, a green long sleeve shirt, and blue jean pants, it looks like.
Unacceptable. Unacceptable.
I got to see now. Is he jerking it? She says, call 911.
Hi, how are you? Good. Have you been here before?
Yeah.
Sir, you need to leave. Unacceptable.
His hand is down there, but I don't see any motion. I don't see any motion.
Unacceptable. Call 911.
What if it's an accidental erection and he's trying to choke it into submission? It reminds me of that story a while back. They found this guy. Dude, there was this guy that went into like a Five Below or something and like fucking like nutted on a woman that was like looking at something on the shelf or something and ran away. Dude, they found that guy in like fucking 12 minutes after the video was posted. They found this dude so fucking quick. Like so quick. It was insane. He could have been trying to choke it out. If you squeeze it hard enough, I heard it sends the blood back to your brain. I don't know. A Manscaped commercial. The Lawnmower 3.0. And then there has been this huge drama around World of Warcraft. I don't have time to explain it, but to explain it in depth. And I know most people don't know World of Warcraft. These creators, big name creators in the streaming World of Warcraft shit, have they stream together. They all have huge followings. Okay, most of them have huge followings. They're streaming together in a team. There's like 5 or 6 of them or whatever in a team. They go to fight a boss. Now, they're playing in a mode called hardcore mode. So you might spend like 10 years building your character up. Hardcore mode, you die, you die. You start all the way over at the beginning. This is a game that you can literally have to sometimes spend years building a character to a certain level. And all these characters are big-time characters. Okay? This group of people, they go up, and they're getting what they call a pool. So you go to a certain area, and a bad guy will spawn. It's usually a boss or a higher-up bad guy. They know a bad guy is going to spawn. They get there. They get to this bad guy. He spawns. It's a pretty bad guy, okay? It's like one that could easily kill them all. Almost immediately in this engagement, this video game, they call run. Right? So run. So what do you think it means when someone calls run? Like, oh shit, we pulled this guy, run. What would that mean? Obviously, that everybody should fucking run. Save your characters, get back to the spawn point so we can like get out of here, away from this guy. And in World of Warcraft, there's this thing called like social aggravation or some shit like that. So certain areas, you'll draw the attention of other spawns and other people or whatever, and you can just break away from them. If you get to a spot to like basically like teleport back home and come back, they'll be gone, right? So that's where they're going. They're going to the teleport to back to a home place, basically back to base, right? So they'd be safe. So the guy they call run, and everybody starts running. Then one guy turns back and tries to start fighting. Like, oh, we can save it. Just kill this guy. Just kill that guy. We can save it. Turns out a couple of the characters get fucking killed. Because half the team ran. Half the team tries to stay and fight. And they're not all together. And it's a pretty powerful boss that they're fighting against. People are literally blaming the guy that ran for running. He didn't have any mana, right? The health was low. They called and the team called run. They're blaming him and saying that he's not taking responsibility for it. Now, they don't like this guy. His name is Pirate Software on YouTube. They don't like this guy because they think that all his videos are about how smart he is. He's the smartest guy, but he is really smart. He's like a hacker. He worked for the Department of Energy, like hacking into power plants and shit. He's like a really smart guy. So I don't think you can just knock him for like seeming overly smart on YouTube and shit. But they're all blaming him now. Now, this has come out. It says Pirate Software makes his return to streaming after what they're now calling Roachgate. Roach was one of the people who died and basically blamed this guy. It says offers ominous warning to those who covered his drama. Now, this might make me fucking hate him, but let's see.
And for all the content creators that were out there trying to cannibalize me to boost their numbers for a little while, that may work for now. But in the future, no one's going to want to do anything with you other than other people that also want to cannibalize you. You're going to surround yourself with assholes. That's going to be on you, bud.
Listen, this kind of makes me hate him a little bit. He does have a really good voice. I like him. This does make me kind of hate him a little bit. Like when something happens, whether it's good, bad, true or false or whatever, the people who cover drama are going to cover drama. Like to say like, oh, you're just doing, the people that you hang out with are not going to come after you. I don't know. That kind of makes me hate him a little. He should have just rolled with it. Like I know people love fucking drama. They cover drama, whatever. I didn't do anything wrong. I'm good to go.
And for all the content creators that were out there trying to cannibalize me to boost their numbers for a little while, that may work for now. But in the future, no one's going to want to do anything with you other than...
My response of it doesn't matter was for Will asking if the guy was touching it. Yeah, I'm trying to get you used to jokes. Do you think I really thought it mattered whether he was jerking his dick or not? Or do you think that's a fucking joke?
And for all the content creators that were out there trying to cannibalize me to boost their numbers for a little while, that may work for now. But in the future, no one's going to want to do anything with you other than other people that also want...
They'll come for you. They'll come for you. I do like the guy. The guy is Pirate Software. He worked for Blizzard for a while, which is another video game. Well, it's the World of Warcraft people. He made his own video game. He does a really good job. But this is him. He went viral in shorts here recently. Like in the last year, a bunch of his shorts have been suggested and gone viral and shit. This is the guy here. He's a pretty good guy.
That rat on the wall for Ridge because they don't have armor.
Yeah, that's true.
Do you like dogs? Other DBS meters?
He doesn't just do video games. Sometimes he's given like video game advice or...
It'll be fine.
But his shorts have been going viral quite a bit.
What did Honey do? Do you support kernel level anti-cheats? No.
He talks about software engineering, building games. He helps people with their games. He's a cool guy. Pirate Software. I don't know what caused him to, other than he puts out a ton of them. I don't know what caused his shit to suddenly go viral. Anyways, I just wanted to see what his warning was. People are blaming him. There's been full like breakdown and analysis of like the fight and what happened here and who should have went there and who did this and who did that and why they did it and who was wrong, who was right. It's not something that I'm going to cover on here because everybody would just go to sleep, but it's this guy. Let's see. The last thing. Let's get into this. It does seem like, I don't know who these people are. Who are the people that would go around like, who are the people that would go around in a fucking, during a wildfire and set fires? Like, who the fuck are these people? And for what this is horrible, dude. There's now an article out that says failure to mobilize firefighters before the fires began led to catastrophe, says new whistle. How do you mobilize firefighters before a fire starts? What does that fucking mean? They said they have engines in the shop. I'm sure they always have engines in the shop. I don't know if you guys know this, but there was this big fucking conspiracy hate group about. They said that Oregon and Washington sent down fire engines to help with the fires, and California wouldn't let them help because they didn't pass emissions. That's not what actually is going on. Now they are going through inspection. All the trucks are going through inspection, but rightfully so. If you don't know this, fire trucks are not made to drive hundreds of miles, okay? They're made to drive around in their precinct, do that well, and fight well, right? They're not made to travel far distances. They're incredibly uncomfortable. They're hard to move around. Sometimes they overheat and shit. Like, they're not made to drive long distances at all in any way, shape, or form. So if you drive one like hundreds of miles and something fucking wears out on it or is broken on it or the transmission's going out or something, and then you send it straight in to fight fires, the guys start to get surrounded and need the truck to get the fuck out, and it's broken down. They need to be inspected. It's not for emissions. That's just a conspiracy that started online. It's not for emissions. Like, we've had people send us fire equipment when we had wildfires, like in the forest, which don't threaten a whole lot of homes. I guess Gatlinburg is probably the worst one recently, but there's just a lot of uninhabited land here. And they send us shit, and we do the same thing in Tennessee, and we don't even have emissions testing. Like, as soon as they get here, they check every nut and bolt on it because it's a safety issue. You got firefighters that are dependent on that. When they drive out somewhere, it can get them the fuck back out of there. They aren't made for, road trips at all. They're made to do something really well, it'd be like taking a tank. Like, a tank is really good at what it does, like an Abrams tank, but you wouldn't want to drive one from like fucking LA to New York, right? And then go straight into battle. Somebody probably needs to check it over. There's probably shit that's broke and worn out and fucked up, and you don't want to get stuck in battle and then not be able to fucking use it to 100% of its ability. I don't know. That shit's just wild. But it had nothing to do with emissions. I guess they just saw that they were being inspected, and someone said, oh, it's probably California emissions. Oh, they're not going to let them help. They should be inspected. I would hate to be the firefighter depending on that truck, and then as soon as you need to depend on that truck, it fucking breaks down, or transmission goes out, or it fucking won't start, or who the fuck knows? All right, here we go. This is what I wanted to get to tonight. Let's see. Do we have it up? Do I have it up? Does it exist up? I thought I already had it. Where did I put it? The final report. We're going to read this first section, okay? Jack Smith last night released U.S. Department of Justice Special Counsel report on the Trump administration and the prosecution thereof, and the reason they dropped the case because they don't prosecute future or sitting presidents. And here we go. Delivery by hand, the Honorable Merrick B. Garland, Attorney General of the United States, Robert F. Kennedy Department of Justice Building, 950 Pennsylvania Avenue, Northwest, Washington, D.C., 20530. The final report of special counsel under 28 CFR 600.8. Dear Mr. Attorney General, in the fall of 2022, former President Donald J. Trump was subject to 2 separate criminal investigations by the Department of Justice. Now, this is a bunch. I want to read this stuff about the election interference tonight. And then it's like 180 pages or something. The first was an investigation of whether any person violated the law in connection with efforts to interfere with a lawful transfer of power following the 2020 presidential election. The second investigation focused on the possession of highly classified documents at Mr. Trump's Mar-a-Lago social club following his presidency. On November 15th, 2022, Mr. Trump declared his candidacy to unseat President Joseph R. Biden Jr., who had previously stated his intention to stand for re-election. Mr. Trump's announcement created a highly unusual situation in which the department, an agency within the executive branch, headed by President Biden, was conducting criminal investigations regarding his newly declared challenger. Based on a longstanding recognition that in certain extraordinary cases, it is in the public interest to appoint a special prosecutor to independently manage an investigation and prosecution, you, as the Attorney General, promptly did so here to underscore the department's commitment to both independence and accountability in particularly sensitive matters. Attorney General Merrick B. Garland remarks on the appointment of special counsel, Washington, D.C., November 18, 2022. So this isn't just explaining why it was a special counsel instead of just a regular investigation. It's because Trump was planning on running again, announced he was running. That's why we have a special counsel rather than just Department of Justice investigation. On the day that I was appointed, I pledged that I would exercise independent judgment, follow the best traditions of the Department of Justice, and conduct my work expeditiously and thoroughly to reach whatever outcome the facts and law dictated. With the aid of an outstanding team, that is what I did. Upon my appointment, I organized a staff of experienced career federal prosecutors, and together we conducted the investigation and subsequent prosecutions under our mandate, consistent with the department's traditions of integrity and nonpartisanship that have guided all of us throughout our careers. Attorney General Edward H. Levy, who assumed the department's helm in the wake of Watergate, summed up those traditions best. Quote, "One paramount concern must always guide our way. This is the keeping of the faith and the essential decency and even-handedness in the law, a faith which is the strength of the law and which must be continually renewed or else it is lost. In a society that too easily accepts the notion that everything can be manipulated, it is important to make clear that the administration of federal justice seeks to be impartial and fair." End quote. Addressed to the Los Angeles County Bar Association, Los Angeles, California, November 18th, 1976. Attorney General Levy remarks shared 46 years to the day before my appointment ring as true now as they did then. I have been a career prosecutor in local, national, and international settings over the last 3 decades, working shoulder to shoulder with hundreds of prosecutors. In that time, the prosecutors and staff of the Special Counsel's Office are, in my estimation, without peer in terms of accomplishment, capability, judgment, and work ethic. More importantly, in my book, they are people of great decency and the highest personal integrity. The intense public scrutiny of our office, threats to their safety, and relentless unfounded attacks on their character and integrity did not deter them from fulfilling their oaths and professional obligations. These are intensely good people who did hard things well. I will not forget the sacrifices they made and the personal resilience they and their families have shown over the last 2 years. Our country owes them a debt of gratitude for their unwavering service and dedication to the rule of law. Without pause, they have upheld the department's commitment to the impartial and independent pursuit of justice. For that, I am grateful, as I know you are as well. Now, typically, there's usually like a snippet in the front of these about me, my team, appointed, worked hard, did this. But there's extra added to this because there was so much hate directed from Trump and his people towards this investigation, when typically they're like, oh, okay, it's an investigation. They're going to find, they're going to follow the truth. And I'm sure that I'll be proven innocent at the end of this, is what typical politicians say. Not, it's a witch hunt. They're trying to take me down. They're prosecuting their enemies. Their opponent in the fucking race. They're just trying to take me out. They don't want me to win. So he's going out of his way, I believe, to put this out at the forefront. Staffed by some of the most experienced prosecutors in the department, my office operated under the same department policies and procedures that guide all federal prosecutors. The regulations under which I was appointed required that we do so. See 28 CFR 600.7a, and our work benefited from those processes. The department has long recognized that proceeding with uniformity of policy is necessary to the prestige of federal law. Robert H. Jackson, the federal prosecutor, April 1, 1940. As a result, throughout our work, we regularly consulted the Justice Manual, the department's publicly available guidebook on policies and procedures, and adhered to its requirements. Our work rested upon the fundamental value of our democracy, that we exist as a government of laws and not of men. That's from John Adams. In making decisions as special counsel, I considered as a first principle whether our actions would contribute to upholding the rule of law and acted accordingly. Our committed adherence to the rule of law is why we not only followed department policies and procedures, but strictly observed the legal requirements and dutifully respected the judicial decisions and precedents our prosecutions prompted. That is also why, in my decision-making, I heeded the imperative that no man is in this country is so high that he is above the law. That's from United States v. Lee. Simply put, the Department of Justice's guiding mandate, which my office strove to uphold, is that power, politics, influence, status, wealth, fear, and favor should not impede justice under the law. When I assumed responsibility for the matters you assigned to me, I came to the work with no preconceived notion of what the just outcome of the investigation would be. I was not yet familiar with all the relevant facts and had not yet researched the relevant law. Depending upon what the investigations revealed, I was equally comfortable closing the investigations or moving forward with prosecutions in one or both of the matters, having done both in high-profile matters throughout my career. So he's saying I was impartial. I didn't even know all the details when I got this, and I was just going to let the evidence take me to where what you would expect them to say, right? What you expect a special counsel prosecutor to say. We make prosecutorial determinations to make prosecutorial determinations. My office gathered relevant evidence and examined whether that evidence established violations of federal criminal law. In doing so, I was guided by the principles of the federal prosecution, a series of considerations designed to promote the fair and even-handed application of the law. As set forth in my report, after conducting thorough investigations, I found that, with respect to both Mr. Trump's unprecedented efforts to unlawfully retain power after losing the 2020 election and his unlawful retention of classified documents after leaving office, the principles compelled prosecution. Indeed, Mr. Trump's cases represented ones in which the offense was the most flagrant, the public harm the greatest, and the proof the most certain. That's from Jackson, from the federal prosecutor. As directed by the principals, I made my decision in these cases without regard to Mr. Trump's political association activities or beliefs, or the possible personal or professional consequences of a prosecution for me or any member of my office. That's from the Justice Manual. The likelihood of acquittal due to unpopularity of some aspect of the prosecution or because of the overwhelming popularity of the defendant or his cause, or to converse, were not factors in my prosecution decisions. My office also adhered at all times to the department's policy against interfering in elections. As a former chief of the department's public integrity section, it was important to me, as it is to you, that we adhere to both the letter and spirit of this policy. I can assure you that neither I nor the prosecutors on my team would have tolerated or taken part in any action by our office for partisan political purposes. Throughout my service as a special counsel, seeking to influence the election one way or the other, or seeking to interfere in its outcome, played no role in our work. My office had one North Star: to follow the facts and law wherever they led. Nothing more, nothing less. While I relied greatly on the counsel, judgment, and advice of our team, I wanted to be clear that the ultimate decision to bring charges against Mr. Trump was mine. It was a decision I stand behind fully. To have done otherwise on the facts developed during our work would have been to shirk my duties as a prosecutor and a public servant. After nearly 30 years of public service, that is a choice I could not abide. It is equally important for me to make clear that nobody within the Department of Justice ever started to interfere with or improperly influence my prosecutorial decision making. The regulations under which I was appointed provided you with the authority to countermand my decisions, 28 CFR 600.7, but you did not do so, nor did you, the Deputy Attorney General, or members of your staff ever attempt to improperly influence my decision as to whether to bring charges against Mr. Trump. And to all who know me well, the claim from Mr. Trump that my decisions as a prosecutor were influenced or directed by the Biden administration or other political actors is, in a word, laughable. While we were not able to bring the cases we charged to trial, I believe the fact that our team stood up for the rule of law matters. I believe the example our team set for others to fight for justice without regard for the personal cost matters. The facts, as we uncovered them in our investigation and as set forth in my report, matter. Experienced prosecutors know that you cannot control outcomes. You can only do your job the right way for the right reasons. I conclude our work confident that we have done so and that we have met fully our obligations to the department and to our country. Accompanying this letter, I'm providing you a confident report explaining the prosecution or declination decisions by special counsel. The report consists of 2 volumes. Volume 1 addresses the election case, and Volume 2 addresses the classified documents case. I understand that you are considering whether all or part of my report can be made public, consistent with applicable legal restrictions. Both volumes minimize the identification of witnesses and co-conspirators, consistent with accepted department practice. And we have provided a redacted version of Volume 2 that identifies certain information that remains under seal or is restricted from public disclosure by Federal Rule of Criminal Procedure, 6E. Because Volume 2 discusses the conduct of Mr. Trump's alleged co-conspirators in the classified documents case, Waltine Nuada and Carlos de Oliveira, consistent with department policy, Volume 2 should not be publicly released while their case remains pending. Though not required, prior to finalizing the report, my office provided an opportunity for counsel for Mr. Trump to review both volumes and for counsel for his former co-defendants in the classified documents case, Mr. Nuada and Mr. de Oliveira, to review Volume 2. After this review, counsel for Mr. Trump wrote a letter to you, and we have provided a written response to you, both of which you will find in the addendum to the report. With this report, my service and the service of my staff is complete. I thank you for the trust you placed in me and my team, and for affording us the independence necessary to conduct our work. Public service is a privilege, and we deeply appreciate the opportunity to serve our nation in seeking to uphold the rule of law. Sincerely yours, Jack Smith. Okay, that's the opening foreword. Here we go. Now we're going to get into Volume 1, which is the election case. Report on efforts to interfere with the lawful transfer of power following 2020 presidential election or the certification of the Electoral College vote held on January 6, 2021. Special Counsel Jack Smith. We get table of contents. This is basically what I'm going to go through tonight. The results of the investigation. Volume 1, Section 1. That's what I want to get to. It's 23 pages. So we'll see what we can get done. It's midnight right now. Here we go. On November 18, 2022, the Attorney General appointed the special counsel to oversee an ongoing investigation into whether any person or entity violated the law in connection with efforts to interfere with the lawful transfer of power following the 2020 presidential election or the certification of the Electoral College vote held on or about January 6, 2021. Appointment of John L. Smith as special counsel. November 18, 2022. As a result of that investigation, on August 1st, 2023, a federal grand jury in the District of Columbia charged Donald J. Trump with 4 felony offenses arising from his efforts to unlawfully retain power by using fraud and deceit to overturn the 2020 election results. After the Supreme Court held last summer that Mr. Trump was immune from prosecution for certain misuse of official power alleged in the indictment, a second grand jury found probable cause to return a superseding indictment charging the same offenses based on his non-immunized conduct. So what does this mean? They brought a case, and they said, the grand jury said, oh yeah, we should bring charges against him. Then the Supreme Court ruled, he's immune if it's in his official capacity as president. So then Jack Smith went back to them and pulled out all this protected immunity clause from the case and said, we got to take all of this out because he has immunity from prosecution of these things, pulled all that out, had another grand jury and said, okay, here's the stuff that he doesn't have immunity for. It's not within his privilege and actions as president. And they still came back and said, yes, we should bring charges, even just based on this. So twice the grand jury said it. Mr. Trump was thereafter reelected as president of the United States, and as a result, on November 25th, 2024, the special counsel moved to dismiss the case against Mr. Trump because of the Department of Justice's longstanding position that the Constitution forbids the federal indictment and prosecution of a sitting president. This volume focuses on an election case against Mr. Trump and, consistent with the applicable regulations, provides an explanation of the prosecution decisions reached by the special counsel. The first section of this volume sets forth a summary of key facts. This is what I'm interested in, the key facts. Gleaned from the investigation, a vast majority of which are already a matter of public record through the litigation that occurred before the district court. The second section discusses the statutes that Mr. Trump was charged with violating, applying the facts developed during the investigation to the law. As a special counsel's office, the office understood it. This section also addresses other charges that the office considered but did not pursue, and the defenses that the office expected Mr. Trump to raise at trial. The third section explains why the special counsel's decision to prosecute Mr. Trump was fully consistent with and indeed was compelled by the principles of federal prosecution. The fourth section describes the office's investigation, procedures, and policies. Finally, the fifth section of this volume discusses a series of investigative and prosecutorial issues that the office confronted in the election case. 1. The results of the investigation. In 2020, then President-elect Donald J. Trump ran for re-election against Joseph R. Biden Jr. Mr. Trump lost. As alleged in the original and superseding indictment, substantial evidence demonstrates that Mr. Trump then engaged in an unprecedented criminal effort to overturn the legitimate results of the election in order to retain power. Although he did so primarily in his private capacity as a candidate and with the assistance of multiple private co-conspirators, Mr. Trump also attempted to use the power and authority of the United States government in furtherance of his scheme. As set forth in the original and superseding indictments, when it becomes clear that Mr. Trump had lost the election and that lawful means of challenging the election results had failed, he resorted to a series of criminal efforts to retain power. This included attempts to induce state officials to ignore true vote counts, to manufacture fraudulent slates of presidential electors in 7 states that he had lost, to force Justice Department officials and his own Vice President Michael R. Pence to act in contravention of their oaths, and to instead advance Mr. Trump's personal interests. And on January 6, 2021, to direct an angry mob to the United States Capitol to obstruct the congressional certification of the presidential election, and then leverage rioters' violence to further delay it. In service of these efforts, Mr. Trump worked with other people to achieve a common plan to overturn the election results and perpetuate himself in office. These individuals included co-conspirator 1, a private attorney who was willing to spread knowingly false claims and pursue strategies that Mr. Trump's campaign attorneys would not. Co-conspirator 2, a private attorney who devised and attempted to implement a strategy to leverage the vice president's ministerial role in the certification proceeding to obstruct the certification. Co-conspirator number 3, a private attorney whose unfounded claims of election fraud Mr. Trump privately acknowledged were crazy, but which he embraced and publicly amplified nonetheless. Co-conspirator 4, a Justice Department official who worked on civil matters and whom Mr. Trump attempted to use the Justice Department to open sham criminal election investigations and influence state legislatures with knowingly false claims of election fraud. Co-conspirator number 5, a private attorney who assisted in devising and attempting to implement a plan to submit fraudulent slates of presidential electors to obstruct the certification proceeding. And co-conspirator 6, a private political consultant who helped implement a plan to submit fraudulent slates of presidential electors to obstruct the certification proceeding. The through line of all of Mr. Trump's criminal efforts was deceit, knowingly false claims of election fraud. And the evidence shows that Mr. Trump used the lies as a weapon to defeat a federal government function foundational to the United States democratic process. Mr. Trump's false claims included dozens of specific claims regarding certain states, such as that large numbers of dead, non-resident, non-citizen, or otherwise ineligible voters had cast ballots, or that voting machines had changed votes from Mr. Trump to votes against him. These claims were demonstrably, and in many cases, obviously false. The office investigated whether Mr. Trump believed the claims he made. Evidence from a variety of sources established that Mr. Trump knew that there was no outcome determinative fraud in the 2020 election, that many of the specific claims he made were untrue and that he had lost the election. He knew this because some of the highest-ranking officials in his own administration, including the vice president, told him directly that there was no evidence to support his claims. Mr. Trump's private advisors, both within and outside of his campaign, told him the same. On November 13th, his own campaign conceded its litigation in Arizona, a state pivotal to his re-election prospects. State officials and legislators whom Mr. Trump pressured to change vote tallies or stop certifications of results rebuffed him and informed him that his fraud claims were wrong, both privately and through public statements. Yeah, but then his cult just hate them, right? Raffensperger tried to tell him, like, well, there was no cheating going on here. Now they just fucking hate him, right? He's a deep state rhino, piece of shit. It's wild. Mr. Trump also monitored legal developments regarding the election and was on notice that state and federal courts rejected every post-election lawsuit that Mr. Trump and his allies filed claiming outcome-determinative election fraud. Mr. Trump and co-conspirators could not have believed the specific fraud claims that they were making because the numbers they touted, for instance, of dead voters in a particular state, frequently vacillated wildly from day to day and were objectively impossible. So one day it would be 20,000, the next day it would be fucking 100,000. The same claim about dead people voting in Pennsylvania. One day they'd be on a story and they'd say it was 20,000, the next day it was 100. They can't believe these are true, or they wouldn't have two different numbers day in, day out. Hundreds of different numbers. Or were objectively impossible, including, for example, co-conspirator 3's claim about voting machines that Mr. Trump privately acknowledged sounded crazy before he publicly amplified them. Finally, at times, Mr. Trump made comments implicitly acknowledging that he knew he had lost the election. For example, in a January 3rd, 2021 Oval Office meeting regarding a national security matter, Mr. Trump stated in part, "It's too late for us. We are going to give that to the next guy," meaning President-elect Biden. Mr. Trump aimed his deceit at the United States process of collecting, counting, and certifying votes, which flows from the constitutional and federal law enacted in 1887 called the Electoral College Act. The Constitution provides the United States president is selected through the votes of individuals called electors, and that each state determines how to appoint its electors. Through state laws, all 50 states and the District of Columbia have chosen to select electors based on their popular vote. Therefore, after Election Day, pursuant to the ECA, each state formally determines or ascertains its electors based on the popular vote. The ascertained electors meet on the day determined by the ECA and cast their votes based on their state's popular vote. And the ascertained electors mail their electoral votes along with a certification from the state executive that they are the state's legitimate electors to the United States Congress to be counted and certified in an official proceeding. So again, the state looks at the popular vote, decides who won the electors, meets with these electors, they all sign their votes, put them in an envelope with a certification from the highest person in the state, and they mail that in. That gets counted on January 6th. The Constitution and ECA provide that on the 6th of January, following the election day, Congress meets for that certification proceeding, which is presided over by the vice president as president of the Senate. The legitimate electors' votes are open and counted, and the winner is certified until Mr. Trump obstructed it. This democratic process had operated in peaceful and orderly manner for more than 130 years. Mr. Trump's pressure on state officials. One of Mr. Trump's efforts to change the results of the election involved targeting the electoral process at the state level through politically aligned state officials. Mr. Trump contacted state legislators and executives, pressured them with false claims of election fraud in their states, and urged them to take action to ignore the vote counts and change the results. Significantly, he made election claims only to state legislators and executives who shared his political affiliation and were his political supporters, and only in states that he had lost. Weird. For instance, Mr. Trump and co-conspirator 1 called the Speaker of the Arizona House of Representatives on November 22nd and used false fraud claims to try to convince the Speaker to call the state legislature into session and replace Arizona's legitimate electors with Mr. Trump's illegitimate ones. Co-conspirator 1 tried to coerce the Arizona Speaker, including by telling him, "We're all kind of Republicans and we need to be working together." The Arizona Speaker refused to do what he was asked and requested that co-conspirator 1 provide evidence to support his fraud claims. Co-conspirator 1 not only failed to ever provide such evidence, but he conceded to the Arizona speaker at an in-person meeting a week later that we don't have the evidence, but we have lots of theories. Despite this lack of fraud evidence, Mr. Trump and others continued to pressure the Arizona speaker to overturn the election results. Mr. Trump similarly leaned on other state officials, always those of the same political party. On January 2nd, 2021, just days before the election results were to be certified, he called Georgia's Secretary of State and pressed him to find 11,780 votes, Mr. Biden's margin of victory in the state. When the Secretary of State refuted Mr. Trump's false fraud claims, Mr. Trump issued a threat stating that because the Secretary of State knew what they did and you're not reporting it, that's a criminal offense. And you know you can't let that happen. That's a big risk to you. Mr. Trump also pressed state legislators in Michigan by inviting them to the White House on November 20th, raising false claims of election fraud and bringing co-conspirator 1 into the meeting by phone. Michigan Senate Majority Leader told Mr. Trump that he had lost the election, not because of fraud, but because he had underperformed with educated females, an assessment that displeased Mr. Trump. I would have loved to have seen that. Mr. Trump engaged in these efforts, even though trusted state and party officials had told him from the outset that there was no evidence of fraud in the election. In Arizona, Mr. Trump called the governor on November 9th, a week after the election day, and after both Fox News and the Associated Press had projected that Mr. Trump had lost the state. Using a baseball metaphor, the governor told Mr. Trump that it was the 9th inning, 2 outs, and he was several runs down. During the call, Mr. Trump raised false claims of election fraud. The governor asked Mr. Trump to send evidence of alleged fraud. Mr. Trump suggested he would do so. He never did. In Pennsylvania, just 2 days after the election, the chairman of the state's Republican Party, who had represented Mr. Trump in previous election litigation, refuted Mr. Trump's claims that it was suspicious that his early lead was slipping away. The chairman explained that there were still roughly 1.75 million mail-in ballots being counted, which were expected to weigh heavily in Mr. Biden's favor. Why? Because Trump told his followers not to use mail-in ballots. In the course of conversations like these, state officials better positioned than Mr. Trump to know these facts in their states repeatedly told Mr. Trump that his fraud claims were unfounded and that there was no evidence of substantial election fraud in their states. And apart from Georgia's Secretary of State, Mr. Trump never contacted other election officials to determine whether there was merit to any specific allegation of election fraud. He just went out and repeated it on social media and with the media. He never once called to investigate these claims or asked people if they had seen this or have you heard reports of it. Never, because he knew it wasn't true. He didn't want people to tell him no. Even though they would have been the best sources to confirm or refute such claims. The fraudulent elector plan. As December 14th, the date the ECA required each state electors to vote and send their certificates to vote to Congress, approached Mr. Trump and co-conspirators launched another plan. Under this plan, they would organize the people who would have served as Mr. Trump's electors had he won the popular vote in 7 states that Mr. Trump had lost: Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, Nevada, New Mexico, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and caused them to sign and send to Washington false certifications claiming to be the legitimate electors. Ultimately, as explained below, Mr. Trump and co-conspirators used fraudulent certificates to try to obstruct the congressional certification proceeding. The fraudulent electors' plan's arc is reflected in a series of memoranda drafted in late November and early December by co-conspirator 5, who initially portrayed it as a contingency to preserve the possibility that Mr. Trump's electors' votes would be counted on January 6th if he prevailed in ongoing election litigation. But as described below, that plan quickly transformed into a corrupt strategy to obstruct the certification proceeding and overturn the valid election results. Mr. Trump set the fraudulent elector plan into motion in early December, ensured that it was carried out by co-conspirators and campaign agents in the targeted states, and monitored its progress. On December 6th, for instance, Mr. Trump and co-conspirator 2 called the chairwoman of the Republican National Committee and told her that it was important for the RNC to help organize Mr. Trump's elector nominees in the targeted states. During the call, co-conspirator 2 told a lie that the co-conspirators would use to induce the cooperation of many of the fraudulent electors, that Mr. Trump's elector votes would be used only if ongoing litigation in their state proved successful for Mr. Trump. From that point on, Mr. Trump communicated with co-conspirators 1 and 2 about the plan, and they in turn communicated with co-conspirators 5 and 6. At co-conspirator 1's direction, co-conspirator 5 generated and sent directions to the Trump electors in each targeted state on how to best mimic the manner in which the state required valid electors to gather and vote. And campaign staff and agents helped carry out co-conspirator 5's plans. For the most part, co-conspirators deceived Mr. Trump's electoral nominees in the targeted states by falsely claiming that their electoral votes would only be used if ongoing litigation were resolved in Trump's favor. Indeed, the co-conspirators deliberately withheld from the elector nominees information showing otherwise. This deception was crucial to the conspiracy, as many who participated in the fraudulent electors would not have done so had they known the true extent of the co-conspirators' plans. Not all of Mr. Trump's electors' nominees were persuaded, forcing co-conspirators to recruit substitutes in some of the targeted states. For example, one Trump elector nominee in Pennsylvania recognized the plan as illegal and an attempt to overthrow the government. He declined to participate. So you know if some smart people are catching on like, this is a lie, this is an attempt to overthrow the fucking duly elected president, that Trump and his people had to know what the fuck they were doing. Conversely, a select few of Mr. Trump's agents and elector nominees had insight into the ultimate plan to use the fraudulent elector certificates to disrupt the congressional certification on January 6th and willingly assisted. On December 9th, after a phone call with co-conspirator 5, one of the campaign's agents wrote in an email that co-conspirator 5's plan for the electors to send in fake electoral votes to Pence was kind of wild and creative. 2.5 hours later, he replied to his own email and as cover wrote that alternative votes is probably better term than fake votes. So they knew it. They're saying that sending in fake electoral votes to Pence is wild and creative, right? We could fucking pull this off. Maybe we shouldn't call it fake. Let's call it alternative. That's what we should do. And that he agreed with the suggestion to keep the plan under wraps until Congress counts the votes on January 6th. Hide this from the public. In each of the targeted states, Mr. Trump and his co-conspirators successfully organized enough elector nominees and substitutes to gather on December 14th, cast fraudulent electoral votes on his behalf, and send them to Washington, D.C. for the congressional certification, a fact that the RNC chairwoman relayed to Mr. Trump on the evening of December 14th. At the same time that Mr. Trump's elector nominees in the targeted states were preparing to gather and cast fraudulent votes, his co-conspirators were planning to use them to overturn the election results on January 6th certification. At the January 6th certification. On December 13th, co-conspirator 5 sent co-conspirator 1 a memorandum that envisioned a scenario in which the vice president would use the fraudulent slates to claim that there were dueling slates of the electors from the targeted states and negotiate a solution for Mr. Trump to seize power. And on December 16th, co-conspirator 5 traveled to Washington with a group of private attorneys who had done work for Mr. Trump's campaign in Wisconsin for a meet and greet with Trump in the Oval Office. As the group left, co-conspirator 5 had a direct private conversation with Mr. Trump. Days later, on December 19th, Mr. Trump publicly posted a tweet demonstrating his own focus on the certification proceeding and directing his supporters to gather in Washington, D.C. to oppose it. At 1:42, he posted a copy of a report falsely alleging outcome determinative election fraud and wrote, statistically impossible to have lost the 2020 election. Big protest in D.C. on January 6th. Be there. Will be wild. He's such a piece of shit, and I can't believe they elected him again. That same day, co-conspirator 5 notified another attendee on the December 16th Oval Office meeting that Mr. Trump's tweet, and he indicated that Mr. Trump had privately foreshadowed his plans for January 6th, writing, "Wow, based on 3 days ago, I think I have a unique understanding of this," when he had his private meeting with Trump. Misuse of official power through the Justice Department. As his efforts to directly pressure state officials to discount legitimate votes failed and the fraudulent elector plan unfolded, Mr. Trump also tried another tack. He attempted to wield federal power to perpetuate his fraud claims and retain office. Mr. Trump was frustrated with the Justice Department because its criminal investigations had identified no evidence of substantial fraud. And the Attorney General had publicly acknowledged this fact in an interview on December 1st by saying, among other things, to date, we have not seen fraud on a scale that could have affected a different outcome in this election. As a result, Mr. Trump considered appointing co-conspirator 4, this is the guy that was like an EPA lawyer, a Justice Department attorney who worked on civil matters, to be the acting Attorney General because, as described below, co-conspirator 4 was willing to use the Justice Department to spread Mr. Trump's lies and pressure targeted states to overturn the election results. Throughout the post-election period, Justice Department, we were so close to him being able to do this, dude. If it hadn't been for a few people in key positions standing up, they could have done it, especially Mike Pence. Especially, I know everybody hates Mike Pence, but goddamn. Throughout the post-election period, Justice Department officials reviewed Mr. Trump's claims of election fraud and found no support for any of them and informed him as such. In one such discussion, when the acting Attorney General advised Mr. Trump that the Justice Department could not just snap its fingers and change the election outcome, Mr. Trump told the acting Attorney General and acting Deputy Attorney General that they should just say that the election was corrupt and leave the rest to me and the Republican congressman. In the same call, alluding to replacing Justice Department leadership if they did not do as he directed, Mr. Trump also said, "People tell me co-conspirator 4 is great. I should put him in." Mr. Trump knew about co-conspirator 4 because he had been introduced to co-conspirator 4 by a member of Congress who had been secretly engaging with co-conspirator 4, who was communicating with Mr. Trump in contravention of policies designed to protect the independence of the Justice Department. On December 28th, as his secret communications with Trump, Mr. Trump continued, co-conspirator 4 emailed the acting Attorney General and acting Deputy Attorney General a proposed letter that falsely claimed that the Justice Department had identified significant concerns that may have impacted the outcome of the election in multiple states and recommended that those state legislatures convene in special session to reconsider certification of electoral votes. Co-conspirator 4 proposed to send it to the governor, speaker, and president pro temp of each relevant state to indicate that in light of time urgency and sworn evidence of election irregularities. What's sworn evidence? Affidavits of people just claiming shit. Of election irregularities presented to courts and to legislative committees, the legislators thereof should each assemble and make a decision about elector appointment in light of their deliberations. Within about an hour of receiving the draft letter, the acting Deputy Attorney General pointedly rejected co-conspirator 4's proposal, writing, "I know of nothing that would support this statement. We have identified significant concerns that may have impacted the outcome of this election in multiple states." He also observed that the Justice Department had no role in states' administration of their own elections, writing, "I cannot imagine a scenario in which the department would recommend that a state assemble its legislature to determine whether already certified election results should somehow be overridden by legislative action." Nonetheless, Mr. Trump continued to circumvent Justice Department leadership and engage directly with co-conspirator 4. With Mr. Trump's intervention, co-conspirator 4 obtained a highly classified briefing on foreign interference in the 2020 election on January 2nd, 2021, a briefing that yielded nothing to support the conspirators' allegations and demonstrated by contemporaneous electronic messages between co-conspirator 4 and the same member of Congress who had introduced co-conspirator 4 to Mr. Trump. Yet, the following day, Mr. Trump attempted to install co-conspirator 4 as the acting Attorney General. On January 3rd, after Mr. Trump offered the position to co-conspirator 4, and co-conspirator 4 informed Justice Department senior leadership that he was accepting it, Mr. Trump, co-conspirator 4, and senior officials from the Justice Department and White House counsel's office gathered for a hastily scheduled meeting in the Oval Office. Mr. Trump made clear that he wanted to appoint co-conspirator 4 because co-conspirator 4 would cause the Justice Department to send to the targeted states the false letter that the acting Attorney General and acting Deputy Attorney General had rejected as inaccurate and improper. It's fucked up. Mr. Trump ultimately did not do so, only because he was informed that if he did, mass resignations within the Justice Department and the White House would result in co-conspirator 4 leading a graveyard. Near the end of the meeting, when co-conspirator 4 raised the idea of the Justice Department opening on the vice president's role during the congressional certification, Mr. Trump told all those assembled that no one other than him should be talking to the vice president. Mr. Trump's pressure on the vice president. Mr. Trump wanted no one else speaking with the vice president, Pence, because he and co-conspirators were already implementing a secret plan to use Mr. Pence's ministerial role as president of the Senate to Mr. Trump's advantage. Co-conspirator 2, with assistance from co-conspirators 5 and 6, spearheaded the execution of a strategy, which co-conspirator 2 had recently conceded was not supported by the Constitution or federal law. For Mr. Pence to decline to count the legitimate electoral certificates in the targeted states where Mr. Trump's electors had signed fraudulent ones. In the weeks before the certification, Mr. Trump began pressuring Mr. Pence to cooperate, both directly and by mobilizing Mr. Trump's supporters. In repeated conversations, day after day, Mr. Trump pressed Mr. Pence to use his ministerial position as president of the Senate to change the election outcome, often by citing false claims of election fraud as justification. He even falsely told Mr. Pence that the Justice Department was finding major infractions. When Mr. Pence repeatedly refused to act as Mr. Trump wanted, Mr. Trump told him hundreds of thousands of people would hate his guts and think he was stupid and that Mr. Pence was too honest. If what Trump thought he was doing was right, why would one of the things be, you're too honest? And if you know this to be true, and you know about this electoral scheme and you still support Trump, you're not a fucking patriot. You're not a good citizen. You're not any of these things you fucking claim to be. You don't love the fucking country. You love Trump. There's something wrong with you. Surrounding these communications, Mr. Trump frequently took to Twitter to exhort supporters to travel to Washington for January 6th, such as when he tweeted on January 1st, the big protest rally in Washington, D.C. will take place at 11 a.m. on January 6th. Location details to follow. Stop the steal. On January 4th, 2 days before the certification proceeding, Mr. Trump arranged for Mr. Pence to meet with co-conspirator 2 in the Oval Office in hopes that co-conspirator 2 could convince Mr. Pence to accede. During the meeting, co-conspirator 2 outlined 2 ways that he claimed Mr. Pence could affect the election outcome using his role in the certification. He could reject the legitimate electors outright, denying Mr. Biden an electoral majority and likely sending the selection of the president to the House of Representatives, where fellow Republicans controlled the majority of state delegations. Or he could send the elector slates to targeted states' legislatures for them to choose which electoral votes should be counted, affording Republican-controlled legislatures the opportunity to reject Mr. Biden's electors and replace them with Mr. Trump's. In response to Mr. Pence's questioning, co-conspirator 2 admitted that both proposals violated the Electoral College Act and were untested. When Mr. Pence turned to Mr. Trump and pointed out that even Mr. Trump's lawyer, co-conspirator 2, did not think Mr. Pence had the authority to return electoral votes to the states, Mr. Trump responded that he liked the other thing better, which Mr. Pence understood to mean Mr. Pence simply rejecting the electoral votes outright. In the end, Mr. Pence again stated that he did not believe he could do what he was being asked. That night, Mr. Trump used a speech in Dalton, Georgia, to focus the crowd on the idea that Mr. Pence could change the results of the election, saying, "I hope Mike Pence comes through for us. I have to tell you, I hope that our great vice president comes through for us. Of course, if he doesn't come through, I won't like him quite as much." It's the fucking president of the United States, dude. The next day, on January 5th, when Mr. Trump again failed to make headway with Mr. Pence in a private conversation, Mr. Trump warned that he would have to publicly criticize Mr. Pence. Mr. Trump then, in response to New York Times reports on the conversation between Mr. Trump and Mr. Pence, issued a false statement claiming, "The vice president and I are in total agreement that the vice president has the power to act." Another outright lie. Mr. Trump's supporters attack the United States Capitol. Mr. Trump's efforts to remain in power converged and culminated on January 6th, the day that Mr. Biden was to be certified president. That day, Mr. Trump was scheduled to speak at the Ellipse to the crowd of supporters he had summoned to Washington, D.C. with false claims of election fraud. At around 1 a.m. on the morning of January 6th, Mr. Trump tweeted, "If Vice President Mike Pence comes through for us, we will win the presidency." Many states wanted to decertify the mistake they made in certifying the incorrect. No state asked to decertify any fucking thing. certifying incorrect and even fraudulent numbers in a process not approved by the state legislature, which it must be. Mike can send it back. Just before he left the White House to give his speech of the ellipse, Mr. Trump phoned Mr. Pence one last time. When Mr. Pence told Mr. Trump that he planned to issue a public statement making clear that he lacked the authority to do what Mr. Trump wanted, Mr. Trump expressed anger at him. He then directed staffers to reinsert into his planned ellipse speech some language that he had drafted earlier targeting Mr. Pence. During his speech of the ellipse, Mr. Trump made one more attempt to retain power. In his remarks, Mr. Trump repeated many of the same lies that he had been telling for months regarding dead voters, non-citizen voters, and vote dumps. He told the newer ones, lies that targeted states wanted to change their electors and that Mr. Pence had the authority and might be persuaded to change the election results. The lie regarding Mr. Pence was particularly deceptive because Mr. Trump knew what his supporters in the crowd did not, that Mr. Pence had just told him in no uncertain terms that he would not do what Mr. Trump was demanding. But Trump wants to say, hey, he might if we show him that we really have this pressure on him. That's what led people to the fucking Capitol. Mr. Trump told the crowd, a crowd of his supporters, that he had remarked to advisors the night before was angry and that the election had been stolen and the country would no longer exist if this purported crime were not stopped, and that the discovery of fraud licensed them to go by very different rules, suspend the Constitution. Although Mr. Trump at one point also told his supporters to peacefully and patriotically make their voices heard. He said that once, but he mentioned fight like 60 times. He used the word fight more than 10 times in the speech before concluding by directing his supporters to march to the Capitol to give allied members of Congress the kind of pride and boldness they need to take back our country. He also told the angry crowd that if you don't fight like hell, you're not going to have a country anymore. By the way, did this come true? Did 4 years of Biden dissolve our country? Is it gone? Is it done? Is it over with? We shutting her down? The experiment failed? Throughout the speech, Mr. Trump gave his supporters false hope that through such action, they could cause Mr. Pence to overturn the election results, even though he just talked to Pence before he went on stage. And Pence said, no, hell no, I'm not doing it, and I'm going to do a press conference telling people I'm not going to do it. Trump didn't care. Even improvising new lines directed at Mr. Pence as the speech went on. And Mr. Trump's urging thousands of his supporters march from the ellipse to the Capitol building. Then Mr. Pence began the certification around 1 p.m. Outside the building, the crowd swelled and broke through barriers, cordoning off the grounds. The crowd that attacked the Capitol was filled with Mr. Trump supporters, as made clear by their Trump shirts, signs, and flags. As described in detail below, the crowd violently attacked the law enforcement officers attempting to secure the building. Damn, dude. All because one guy fucking told them over and over and over and over and over, you're going to lose your country. It's being stolen. If you go down there, we can stop this. You better fight or you're going to lose your country. Get the fuck out of here. After his speech, Mr. Trump returned to the White House and at around 1:30 p.m. settled in the dining room of the Oval Office. There, he watched the television news coverage of the events at the Capitol and reviewed Twitter on his phone. When the angry crowd advanced on the Capitol building and breached it around 2:13 p.m., forcing the Senate to recess, several of Mr. Trump's advisors rushed into the dining room and told him that a riot had started at the Capitol and that rioters were in the building. He knew. He was watching it. Over the course of the afternoon, they forcefully urged Mr. Trump to issue calming messages to his supporters. Mr. Trump resisted, repeatedly remarking that the people at the Capitol were angry because the election had been stolen. Just before 2:24 p.m., the news channel playing on television in the dining room where Mr. Trump was sitting aired an interview with an individual marching from the ellipse to the Capitol who expressed his anger at Mr. Pence and stated, "But I still believe President Trump has something else left." Then at 2:24 p.m., sitting alone, Mr. Trump issued a tweet attacking Mr. Pence and fueling the riot. Mike Pence did not have the courage to do what should have been done to protect our country and Constitution, giving states a chance to certify a corrected set of facts, not the fraudulent and inaccurate ones which they were asked to previously certify. USA demands truth. 1 minute later, the United States Secret Service was forced to evacuate Mr. Pence to a secure location at the Capitol. When an advisor at the White House learned this, he rushed to the dining room and informed Mr. Trump, who replied, "So what?" The rioters at the Capitol had been motivated and directed by Mr. Trump, and he continued to resist advisors requesting to direct them to leave. Throughout the afternoon, crowds of the Capitol hunted for Mike Pence and other lawmakers, with some chanting, "Hang Mike Pence." At 2:38 p.m. and 3:30 p.m., Mr. Trump issued 2 tweets falsely suggesting that the events at the Capitol were peaceful and asking the individuals there, whom he termed "we," to remain that way. "Please support our Capitol Police and law enforcement. They are truly on the side of our country. Stay peaceful. And I am asking for everyone in the U.S. Capitol to remain peaceful. No violence. Remember, we are the party of law and order. Respect the law and our great men and women in blue. Thank you." At 4:17 p.m., he tweeted a video message in which he, for the first time, asked his supporters to leave the Capitol, while at the same time falsely claiming that we had an election that was stolen from us, a landslide election, and embracing the people who had attacked the Capitol, telling them, "We love you. You're very special." At 6:01 p.m., he tweeted, "These are the things and events that happened when a sacred landslide election victory is so unceremoniously and viciously stripped away from great patriots who have been badly and unfairly treated for so long. Go home with love and in peace. Remember this day forever." Could you imagine if somehow my videos radicalized a school shooter? And while this school shooter was at the school shooting people, shooting kids in the head and teachers and shit, I was like, "Remain peaceful, Joe. We love you. We support you. Just stay peaceful. We respect the school system and the school board. Just remember that." Then I was like, "Go home in love and in peace, Joe. And remember this day forever." At around the same time as he issued his 6:01 p.m. tweet, Mr. Trump tried to reach 2 United States senators, and he also directed co-conspirator 1 to call members of Congress and attempt to enlist them to further delay the certification. When Mr. Trump's White House counsel called him at around 7 p.m. and asked him to withdraw any objections to the certification, Mr. Trump refused. His own counsel called him and said, "Hey, you're going to have to withdraw all this bullshit. Any objections to certification. It's over." No. Nonetheless, the certification resumed late in the evening of January 6th, and on 3:41 a.m. on January 7th, Mr. Pence announced the certified results of the 2020 election in favor of Mr. Biden. As he did in his 4:17 p.m. and 6:01 p.m. tweets on January 6th, Mr. Trump has provided additional evidence of his intent by continuing to support and ally himself with the people who attacked the Capitol. He has called them patriots and hostages, reminisced about January 6th as a beautiful day, and championed the January 6th choir, a group of January 6 defendants who, because of their dangerousness, and are detained at the District of Columbia jail. That's it. 32 pages of Trump. Jesus Christ. I can't believe you could listen to that and think, yeah, he's our guy. He should be president. I'm so proud of him. That's it. The next part is how the law applies, which we'll read at a different time. But that's the first 40 pages of that bitch. 32 from the report, and then the ones at the start or whatever. It's wild, dude. I'm so glad they released the report. Everybody should. This should be required fucking reading for U.S. citizens. Get the fuck out of here. But because Trump did such a good job of discrediting anybody who ever comes at him, they think it's all made up. Jack Smith made it up because he's from The Hague and he was bad there, and he was brought in by Biden to make all this up. The only solace I can take away is eventually it'll be in the history books what Trump tried to do to the United States. And hopefully he's the one and only, right? Who's to say that this hasn't laid groundwork for every time somebody loses the election and doesn't feel like they should have? But I hope it's the one and only time, but who knows? All right, thank you guys for joining us tonight. Thanks for sticking around with me. I know it's kind of boring when I just read shit, but I do want to read this in its entirety. It's 174 pages. We got through 40 of them tonight. and we'll see what we can do when we come back. Thank you guys for joining us. Thanks for being here. Support the show, please, while we're offline. We're having a rough time right now with everything else going on. The flood wiped us out. I don't have a job. I haven't had a job since September because the flood destroyed it. So up to you. Thank you guys for joining us. Thanks for being here. Go to coldbeer.fund if you want to support the show, and we'll see you on the next one. Have a good night. Love you. See you. Bye, guys. Thank you for hanging out.
But I can tell you this about if this douchebag happens to see this particular show, you don't have the forking balls to call out the people on this planet by name and tell them exactly who they are and tell them the rest of the world who they are. You don't have the forking balls. You don't have the balls.
Okay, Scott.
Here we go, I think I started some shit. Listen off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in the best, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet. Here we go, I think I started some shit.
Thank you for the gift of time. I appreciate it.
It's about to get lit. Get the place in the best, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet.
And they say that I'm a lunatic. Well, listen, bitch, I came equipped with a quick wit and a 6th sense for the stupid shit. Where my true believer? Y'all need Jesus. Praise the Lord, head to the extreme. All these false fucking prophets who profit off of gossip. Worshipping drums, cocking, begging for a throat deposit. Swinging fucking meat hammers like fool in a thong. He's strapped to the shaft, eating his chest like he's King Kong. Starving for attention, I'ma make your gut burst. I'll be your huckleberry, I can quench that thirst. Baby eating lizard people, alien sex. What's next? Trump in a dress, fucking Flynn on his desk. A retard in a vest, climbing up 5G towers. Cause you told him if he did, he'd get fucking superpowers.
Here we go, I think I started some shit. Piss them off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in the best, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet. Here we go, I think I started some shit. Piss them off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in the best, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet.
I used to find clues too when
It took an hour to get through all that. We started right at midnight, didn't we?
Jason Q's bedroom. Open his closet, I found some of his meat right
Have a good one, guys.
to my shoes, and then I flew through the roof. I found myself in orbit strapped to an F-16. High on amphetamine with Trump
Good night.
Queen. Put on a light coat of baby oil and saluted the troops. He's happy.